Hello everybody, thank you so much for joining me on my channel, The New Wife. Today we will be making oven braised cabbage. Hey family, thanks so much for joining me again on my channel, The New Wife. So today we're going to be doing oven braised cabbage. It's so good. Ingredients are very simple. Oh, my necklace is crooked. Salt, pepper, butter, brown sugar, and balsamic vinegar. Okay? So you know how we do. Start out with prayer. Father, we thank you, we bless you, we magnify you, we lift you up. God, you are so good. Through everything that's going on, Lord, you still are in control. You woke us up this morning. You allowed us to see another day. We're in our right mind, Lord. Thank you for the food on our table. Thank you for the food in our refrigerator. Thank you that our water is still running. Thank you that our heat and our air is working, Father. Father, we thank you. We glorify you. We magnify you. We bow before you. We thank you. We take nothing for granted, Father. Please forgive us for complaining and being ungrateful for what we have. So, Father, we thank you. 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 Please continue to wrap your arms around our world, Father, in the midst of everything that's going on, and guide our government as they make decisions, the Lord, and allow us to do our part, the Lord, by praying and by voting, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, y'all. Oven braised cabbage. Let's get to it. These are the ingredients that we will be using today: pepper, salt, balsamic vinegar, and butter. So here we are. We have our pan on, honestly, a 4, and we have about 1 layer of cabbage, because with cabbage you want to take your time in cooking it. You do not want to put the whole head of cabbage in. So I'm just stirring it, making sure all of the cabbage is getting butter on it. That's I'm getting ready to put in there, and that it's evenly coated. Now I'm getting ready to add another layer of cabbage, because that first layer cooked for about 4 to 5 minutes. And you only want to add in cabbage when the other cabbage is starting to look transparent. So see, I'm adding another layer of cabbage here. And then I'm going to add another tablespoon of butter. So with each layer of cabbage, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of butter. So this is tablespoon number 2 of butter for me, okay? So we're stirring it. We're taking cabbage from the bottom to the top to make sure the cabbage that was just placed in will now be able to cook quickly. So if you're going to have your stove on 4, you want to be right there, because cabbage can burn and it does not taste good burnt at all, okay? So now we're stirring from the bottom to the top, making sure that new cabbage is getting mixed all in there with that butter and everything. We have not added any seasonings yet, but we will be soon. So we're going to let this cabbage cook, making sure the butter is evenly distributed throughout all of the cabbage, because that butter, you will definitely be able to taste it, and it tastes so, so good. Okay, so you want to make sure everything is well mixed. And I suggest that you use a cast iron, because cast iron holds heat and it will not in any way, shape, or form get damaged when you put it into the oven. Okay, so we're getting ready to add our next layer of cabbage. Once we add that layer, of course, we're going to add 1 more tablespoon of butter. Then after that, we are going to add our salt, pepper, balsamic vinegar, and our brown sugar. So I'm putting in that last layer of cabbage right here, making sure all of it's out the bowl. You know we don't play that, honey. Waste not, want not. So we put all of that cabbage in there, make sure it's all in there, adding in that tablespoon of butter. Then we're going to mix again from the bottom to the top, getting everything mixed in there perfectly. So mix, mix, mix to make sure butter is on all of your cabbage, because we are getting ready to start seasoning soon. Each layer of cabbage is really only going to cook really between, like I said, 3 and 5 minutes. And the higher you have your pan, the faster it will cook. But you definitely want to make sure you are standing at your pan so that you do not burn your cabbage, because it is really, really nasty when you burn it. Okay, so I'm stirring, making sure that butter is melted and evenly coated throughout all of my cabbage, and checking my temperature as well on my stove. Okay, making sure everything is even, and you want the cabbage to be cooked pretty good before you go into the oven. Okay, so now we're seasoning with salt, a good amount of salt. I would say at least 2 teaspoons. And then we're going to go in with our pepper, a nice amount of pepper, because these are the main seasonings that you're going to be using. So you don't want to use little. You want to, you know, heavily season with those. Okay? So we're getting ready to add in our balsamic vinegar. This is going to be 2 tablespoons. So you can definitely use a measuring cup for this. I've just made it so often that I can kind of eye it. And then we're going to add in our brown sugar. Okay? With the brown sugar, I do suggest going a little light at first, because after you put it in, you're going to mix it to see if it's to your liking, because you don't want your cabbage too sweet unless that's your preference. So we're going to add in 1 more tablespoon of butter, and then we're going to give it a stir. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure we're mixing well, making sure we have all our ingredients. That was simply salt, pepper, balsamic vinegar, brown sugar, and our butter. So we are mixing once again. How we do it, y'all? From the bottom to the top. Making sure all of that seasoning is going throughout our cabbage evenly. And we are making sure every single bite that you taste is going to have all of that seasoning in there. Okay? So mix, 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 baby, to make sure it's all good for you. And then, of course, you know we have to taste it, okay? Now, as I'm stirring, you can see that some of the cabbage is starting to turn color from that balsamic, because it's black, and that's okay. So don't be disturbed by that. Don't let that scare you. That is just the balsamic turning the cabbage a little bit darker color. And when you go to put your cabbage in the oven, it's going to get even darker, okay? So you want to make sure your oven is preset at 450 degrees, okay? 450 degrees is where you want our oven. We're going to cook our cabbage for about 15 to 20 minutes. You want to definitely make sure you're checking it. Okay? So let's taste it. And you know, once we taste, if it's missing something, then we go in and add a little bit of something. But you cannot assume it tastes one way just because you seasoned it. Okay? So I'm adding in some more brown sugar and a little bit more balsamic vinegar. Okay? Then we're going to give it a mix, and into the oven it's going to go. Okay, here we are. So balsamic vinegar is on its way. Boom, in. And then we are going to give it a stir, and it's going to go in the oven, middle rack, for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. Good stir, good stir, good stir. And you always want to make sure it's even, so it's cooking evenly when you put it in the oven, okay? Definitely want to make sure you're doing that correctly. Into the oven it goes. Okay, we have taken our cabbage out of the oven, and you can see how good it looks. That balsamic vinegar and the brown sugar has caramelized, which gives it some of the dark color. So we know that it is looking good, but you always want to make sure you taste it to make sure it tastes the way you want it to. And mine's came out perfectly. So I was satisfied. I'm clapping for myself, and I'm clapping for you. Glory! It tastes so good. Love y'all. See you next time.